Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Game HQ. I'm Daniel and we're back talking about Everbloom. This is from Nerdvana Games who helped sponsor this video. It's on Kickstarter now, so we'll leave a link to that below. But in this video, we're going to go a little more in depth into the scoring within your biome and what happens when you win a card and bring it into your biome, how these different scoring tokens work, and the importance of the different orders that you may put those scoring tokens in place, and how that's going to affect the decisions that you make as the game goes forward. So essentially, after all of the bidding is done and the area control part of the game is resolved, when you win a card, it's going to come into your biome here, into the spot matching the biome on the card. So if I won this card, it would come into the desert biome. And the first time you put a card into an empty slot on your biome, you're going to choose a scoring token to place in the top space of that biome. And that token is going to score every time you put a card there for the rest of the game. Now, there are two sets of scoring token options. They're front and back. You have the day side and the night side. And each of those tokens scores a different way when a card is added to its biome. So the day side are these green tokens, the night side are the purple tokens. And again, I have placed this one here, so I would need to pick a token to put at the top of this spot that will then score every time a card is put there, including the card that actually places that token. So let's go with the simplest, most straightforward one. Let's say that we're playing with the daytime side and everyone in the game is going to play with the same side. And in your first few games, you're probably going to play with the day side because it's simpler scoring. It's a little more straightforward. So the A token is just 5 points. I put this here, and now every time a card goes into my desert biome, I'm going to score 5 points. Very simple, very straightforward. If I win this card, it goes here. I score another 5 points. The second token, the B token, scores 2 points if you have a grove with 2 pollinators in it, or 6 points if you have a grove with 4 pollinators in it or more. It's 2 or 6 if you have at least 2 pollinators or at least 4 pollinators in any grove. It doesn't have to be a grove matching the biome that you put your card in. Just if any one of these groves has at least that many pollinators in it, you're going to score 2 or 6 points. This one scores 2 points for every landmark where you have your marker on the bottom, where you have your chip on the bottom of the stack. So if you can strategically be the first to bid on, or you focus on bidding on empty landmarks, you could potentially score up to 8 points per round there as long as you win a card that goes there. Again, these only score when a card goes in that biome, but if you can be strategic, knowing that you have this token in play and you bid on empty landmarks, you could get up to 8 points for that one. This one is 1 point for every pollinator on the card. So let's say you're kind of set over here on pollinators and you just want to load up all of your pollinators on one card. You could score potentially 10 points if you were able to get all of your pollinators onto one card and you won that card, which I would think with 10 pollinators, you're probably going to win that card. But this one, you're not always going to score 10 points because you're not always going to have 10 pollinators on it, but you could score up to 10 points with that one. And this one is 1 point per biome with a card in it. So by the end of the game, if you have all of those filled out and you have 1 card per biome, that's worth a maximum of 5 points. It's worth anywhere from 1 to 5 points because you're always going to have at least 1 card in one of your biomes when that goes into play, because a card has to actually put that token into play. So that is the scoring criteria for the daytime side. Now let's look at the nighttime side. It's a little more complicated, but I think has a lot more upside potential if you're really strategic and you pay attention to what's in play. You can score a lot of points with the nighttime side. So the A token on the nighttime side scores equal to the highest space that you have gotten to or passed on the bloom board. So the bloom board has all of these different scoring spaces that typically would be scored at the end of the game. We have 1 point if you make it here, all the way up to 12 points if you make it to the end of the bloom board track. But using that token A, you can score points equal to the highest space that you've gotten to. So if you're really strategic in the bonuses that you get and you really focus on moving your way up the bloom track, you could score 5, 6, 7, up to 12 points every time you place a card there. And again, that's only when you place a card there and you're not likely to get a ton of cards in each biome. I think the highest I've seen typically is on your most valuable biome, you may have 3 or 4. But if you're able to, in that first round, really move your way up the bloom track, you could score a good number of points by the end of the game if you keep focusing on moving up more and more on that track. If you really focus on the bloom cards and the different ways you can move up that track, it could be really valuable having that token in play. The B token on the night side is 2 points per every grove where you have a pollinator. Now, we talked in the other videos about the downside of spreading your pollinators out between all of the groves, because then you don't have as many pollinators available to come in and pollinate your cards. But With this one, you actually get points for having the pollinators spread out. Now, you don't necessarily want 2 on every grove. You do want to have them stacked up heavily onto 1 or 2 so that you have them available to pollinate. But having them spread out a little bit, maybe focusing on these cards, on using these bonus cards, these community bonus cards, to get 1 pollinator on multiple different groves would be a good way to score, again, up to 10 points. There's 5 groves, it's 2 per grove where you have a pollinator. That's a maximum of 10 points every time you score that token. Token C is 2 points for every landmark where you have the top space. So it's the opposite of this one where you were scoring 2 points for the bottom. On this one, you want to be the top token on those landmarks so that you can score for that. Again, a maximum of 8 points for that one, and you're at the will of the other players a little bit more because they can always cover up your token in order to block you from getting those points if they're paying attention. Token D is 9 points minus 1 point for each pollinator you had on that card. So that may be a valuable place where if you are going last and there's a card where you can send 1 pollinator and win that card, and that matches up to the biome where you have the scoring token, you're going to score 8 points for scoring a card that only has 1 pollinator on it. Now, if you have to spend 6 or 7 pollinators to win that card, it's not going to be as valuable. But if you can be strategic in getting those kind of lingering cards that don't have much competition for them, you could score, again, up to 8 points per card because you do have to have at least 1 pollinator on there. This one is going to max out at 8 points every time you score it. And E is the last one. That is 2, 4, or 7 points based on the number of pollinators that it takes to pollinate the card. So every card has a pollinator cost in the top right corner. This one is 3, this one is 1, this one is 2. So this is 2 points if it's a 1-cost pollinator, 4 points if it's a 2-cost pollinator, and this one right here would be worth 7 points because it costs 3 to pollinate. So that is all of the different ways that you can score, again, just with the scoring tokens. So I know that we talked a lot about not getting too many cards and not winning too much and focusing on strategically losing, because you do, again, at the end of the game, you do need to pollinate your cards and have nectar available from pollinating those cards. But there are a lot of points to be had by winning cards and winning them strategically in focusing on winning the cards where you have the strongest scoring abilities and the ones that just based on the current state of the board and the current state of all your pollinators and the different groves and things like that, the ones that are going to score you the most. So it's not just let me win a card because I need a card. It's really, there's a lot of points to be made by just focusing and strategically winning cards that are going to go into your strongest biome. And having strong biomes, having biomes with a lot of cards is also going to give you a better chance at winning that biome and scoring the full points for the nectar at the end of the game. So this is the scoring tokens. That's really all we wanted to cover in this video. We do have a separate video about the different cards and the different abilities on the cards and the whole bidding and area control part of the game. And we're also going to have another video on pollinating and kind of the nuances in pollinating cards and how things like that works, and going back through the final scoring based on the cards that you've pollinated and through the bloom track and the nectar cards and things like that. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave us a comment and we'll answer those as quick as we can. And if we don't have the answer, we'll send it along to the designer or the publisher so they can come and answer your questions for you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.